What is going on, everybody? Kevin Calhoun here. Welcome to the Calhoun Show. Recording on a Thursday for the first time in a little while. It's a little afternoon on this lovely Thursday as I sit here doing the show a day late. And I'm doing the show a day late because I wanted to watch the Cavs-Warriors game, and I was busy before that. So I wanted to give you guys a full show of content instead of just kind of shoehorning in a little bit of content last night. It would not have been as good. So here I am today. I was really hoping to sit down here to talk about a 2-1 series between the Cavs and the Warriors. It looked for a little while last night, especially in the third quarter, like we were going to be sitting here at 2-1. But alas, we are sitting here at 3-0, Golden State with a chance to close out and go for the sweep. My prediction was Golden State in 5. I thought Cleveland would win game 3. And that did not come to pass. That was about as good a game as you're going to get out of LeBron and Kyrie. The problem is that it was the other players on the team that cost them the win. J.R. Smith had bad fouls. Kyle Korver was less than what he needed to be from the three-point line. Darren Williams hasn't hit a shot in the first 3 games of this series. Kevin Love has been good. But, you know, they haven't gotten the help that they've needed, and in order for this Cleveland roster as constructed to hang with this Golden State roster as constructed, Cleveland needs to play a really perfect game, and they have not done that yet. And the thing about it is, Golden State hasn't played perfect games either. They were phenomenal last night. Cleveland was too, until the end, and in the end, Kevin Durant hits a big 3. LeBron and Kyrie carry the team as far as they can carry it, but Kyle Korver's missing looks that he's got to hit. And that was the guy that stood out to me last night, was Kyle Korver. He's got to be better. He's got to be a lot better. Because if Cleveland wants to win this series, which at 3-0 seems nearly impossible at this point, but if Cleveland wants to win this series, they need to play perfect basketball, and that includes the guy that you went out and got. This is your Ray Allen. This is the guy on the wing that's supposed to hit 45 to 55% of his threes in the series. And, you know, he's starting games 1 for 4, 2 for 5, 2 for 6. And these are looks that he's got to hit. He's got to be 4 for 6 on those shots. They've got to be 6 to 9 points closer or ahead because of Kyle Korver, not where they were at. So that was a disappointment. I think Cleveland is settled for bad shots too many times. LeBron is so dominant going to the rim that it seems silly to have him out on the perimeter. JR throws up shots he shouldn't. Iman Shumpert should never shoot the basketball for the Cavaliers. Never. Just shouldn't happen. But it does, and it does from distance quite often. And Kyrie, it's hard to criticize Kyrie's shot selection because he throws in things from such odd angles and such circus acrobatics from him all the time that it really is hard to criticize. But he throws up some bad shots too, and Cleveland settles for 1-shot, 7-second possessions on an ISO play to anyone on the floor if they're feeling it. So I don't know. Cleveland played well, but not well enough. Not well enough to beat Golden State. And in the third quarter, they were good enough. And Golden State was cold from the floor. And that's what it was going to take. It was going to take 1 quarter of basketball for Cleveland to build up enough of a cushion that they could slow the game down. But they refused to do that. They slowed it down here and there, but they were sporadic in how they chose to do it. And the time management, the clock management at the end of the game is poor. You're down 3. You shoot when you do. You give Golden State extra possessions at the end of multiple quarters last night. It just, I don't know. They didn't finish. They didn't finish. I texted Dan Condi this morning, and it was just, I told him, I said, yeah, last night was fun and awesome for about 46 minutes. And then it stopped. And that was about it. Speaking of Dan Condi, keep that name in the back of your head because I keep teasing something. He's involved. That's your hint for the week. More to come. Anyway, I mentioned it with Andy. Andy's got something coming along too. Lots of stuff. Stay tuned. So, anyway, that's the Golden State Cleveland stuff. Obviously, there's more, and we'll get more into it. But that's where we're at to start the show here today. That's why I'm doing the show on a Thursday. All right, let's get this thing going officially and properly, shall we? This is the Calhoun Show. Let's go. Follow the show on Twitter at Calhoun Show and email the show calhounshow@gmail.com. You can follow the show and subscribe to it on YouTube and Facebook, and you can listen to us on iTunes, Stitcher, or SoundCloud. And if you use iTunes and you could leave a nice little rating and review, that'd be appreciated. And the voicemail line is always 860-740-2119. So, as we sit here on this now Thursday, it is a big day in the Calhoun Show family clan. I mentioned something about this a few weeks ago, but it's Facebook official now. People know what's happening, and today is the day for our social media fairy princess, or whatever the hell she calls herself, and our frequent guest. My sister is moving today. She bought her first house, and she is moving into it today. It's happening. So I haven't gotten a chance to talk to her yet, but a massive congratulations to her, and I hope the move goes well. My dad was down with her this past weekend. I heard briefly that it went really well, so high fives to both of them for getting a lot of stuff done. And yeah, so it's weird. My older sister is a person that bought a house in her life. That's happened. It's something that she's done. So yeah, cool. Awesome stuff there, and my phone has volume on, and it's my mother texting my sister, which you imagine. Oh, shocking. So let's continue here. A lot of you have to be wondering how long it's going to take me to get into the show before I mention the fact that Game 5 is tonight in the Stanley Cup Final, and it took that long, and the answer is 7 minutes and 35 seconds. So yes, Game 5 is tonight. And there is a lot of speculation to do with the Pittsburgh Penguins and what they should be doing. And I'm going to weigh in on a lot of it. And I'm going to start with the goalie, because that is the hot button issue. And everyone seems to have an opinion about it. But to me, it's all just kind of noise. And it all needs to quiet down a tiny bit. Here's what I've always said about the Penguins goaltending situation, at least what I've said over the last couple of years here, or more specifically, when Fleury's been great. Fleury's got the highest ceiling amongst the two goalies on the Penguins. I really do believe that. He's also got a massively lower floor than Matt Murray does. And if you're going to talk about the consistency in net that you need, Matt Murray he's just a better goalie. He is. He saves more shots from going in than Marc-Andre Fleury does. Now, Fleury does have games where he is so unbelievably dialed in that it's like watching a different person, and I understand that, and that's why I say his ceiling is higher, but you don't know when that's coming. You just don't. Marc-Andre Fleury has been a very good goalie for a very long time. Matt Murray is the future of the Penguins, if they can keep him. With the expansion draft that's coming here. But if you look at Fleury and how he played in the playoffs this year, and you saw how quickly Sullivan went back to Murray, and, the cynic could argue that Murray is Sullivan's guy, but why wouldn't he be? I know he is, but why wouldn't he be? I guess it doesn't make you a cynic to argue that, because it's pretty true. But he's a kid. He's 23 years old. He's 6'4". Right now the Penguins are paying him $675,000, and he's already won him a Stanley Cup. You know what I mean? Like, it's a little crazy. Matt Murray in his career is a 925 save percentage guy in the regular season. 925 save percentage in the regular season. Fleury is a 912 guy for his career. Okay? There's a difference there. 925 to 912. Those stats favor Matt Murray. Now, way smaller sample size. I'll grant you. Goals allowed per game. Fleury's at 2.58 for his career. Murray is at 2.32. Okay? Murray's save percentage in the playoffs is 924. Fleury's save percentage in the playoffs is the same. Okay? So those are all the numbers that are relevant. Murray is a better regular season goalie, and in the playoffs, they're equal. Fleury steps up his game. That's fine. He's won a cup, and he got the Penguins in the playoffs last year, and he helped them out in the playoffs this year. But Matt Murray is a better goaltender for the future of the Penguins, and that is also at stake here. We're not living, this doesn't exist inside of a vacuum. Matt Murray's going to be on this team, God willing, a year from now. And I haven't seen any Fleury, I hate that there's camps. I don't like that there's a Murray camp and a Fleury camp because I like both guys. And I'd feel comfortable with either one in net. As a Penguin fan, I want Murray in net because I want him on my team for a long time to come because he's 23 and he could win his second cup at 23 years old. It's crazy. Of course I want him on the team. I've loved Fleury for 9 years now. I hope he goes to Vegas, or I hope he goes to a better team than Vegas and wins and does a great thing. Maybe he goes to Calgary and gets to play with all those kids. Whatever. I hope Fleury succeeds, but I want Murray in net. I know there are people who love Flower more than I do. That's okay. Flower is Marc-Andre Fleury, for those of you that don't know. So I know there are people that love him more than I do. That's fine. And I can understand why you support him being in net over Murray. I'm okay with that too. But I don't see anyone arguing that Fleury belongs on the Penguins over Murray for the future of the Penguins' success. Not in terms of who deserves to be on the team, but in terms of this is a business and the business is winning. Murray's the clear choice because he could play for you for 15 years potentially. You're not getting that out of Fleury. It's not even close. So that's the clear choice. If there's someone arguing for Fleury's remaining on the team over Murray, I will be happy to hear that out, but I haven't seen that. So if you're in disagreement with me, if you think Fleury should be in net, that's fine. That's okay. But you have to understand that the future of the Penguins is with Matt Murray. And maybe he would be okay if they put Fleury in net and then starting game 1 next year, he's the starter. Maybe he'd be okay with that. I personally wouldn't. It would drive me crazy. And I think Murray should be in net because I think he's the better option. And I think that's the most important point. But he's the better option now and in the future. So that's number one. Number two is the Penguins luckily don't have to win a game in Nashville to win this series. And thank God, because that place is a little noisy. They make some noise there in Nashville. They've got the "You suck, it's all your fault" chant at the goalie, which is hysterical. The Catfish and Carrie Underwood, and they're playing country music as their goal song. And yeah, I don't know. I mean, I've watched some Predators home games in the playoffs this year, and they're fun every time. It's different when you're watching your team playing it. So I'm a little more in tune with it now. So I'm kind of hearing a little bit more of the chants and stuff, but it's a blast, and it's really cool to see Nashville loving hockey like that. And I don't begrudge it at all. I know there's hockey fans that are saying, this is bandwagon stuff. What isn't a bandwagon fan base? That's what I'm curious about. Because how do you get fan bases, right? The team wins and they grow, and that's how you become, like the Steelers have fans all over the world. That's almost exclusive bandwagon fans. That's totally fine, right? Who cares? There's Steeler bars in Italy. There's you hear about it all the time, especially since I have friends that are Steeler fans. I hear about all the Steeler bars all over the world. And Yeah, bandwagon stuff. That's fine. You know, the Cowboys have fans everywhere. The Predators got good. The city loves them now. The people found out that hockey can be fun. And not only is it fun, but they've brought the college atmosphere into the arena and made it their own and made this their own thing. This isn't just a bunch of, this, to bring another Pittsburgh thing into it, this isn't just a bunch of, the corporate seats half empty with 4 minutes left in the third. This is a crowd that's on its feet. They care. And I'm seeing a lot of hate coming out of the 412 this week, talking about, Nashville and where they're at. So I don't know. That's been weird to me because I don't know. The home games are way louder there. I've been to Pittsburgh. I haven't been to Nashville, but it sounds a lot louder. Anyway, that said, as we approach Game 5, as a Penguin fan, I think the Penguins are in a little bit of trouble. I predicted the Penguins to win this game, this series, in 6 games. That certainly doesn't look likely. Obviously, it's still in play, but I don't know. Nashville's so much healthier, and the Penguins have, not one of the best 4 defensemen in the series. I saw a stat today about PK Subban in the playoffs, and it's honestly it's ridiculous, the numbers that he's put up here in the playoffs as far as just defense goes. I know people measure so much of hockey by the scoring and everything that you're doing, but Subban against the top 4 players he's played against in each round. So in round 1, he played more against Taves than anybody else in the Blackhawks. In the second round, he played more against Tarasenko. In the third round, it was Getzlaf. And thus far, through 4 games against Pittsburgh, it's been Malkin. None of those 4 players have scored an even strength goal while PK is on the ice. It's pretty nuts. It's pretty wild. That's via at It's Matt Cassavant on Twitter, MCats. So it's a good stat. It's also pretty scary. So I'm looking forward to tonight. I'm looking forward to hopefully the Penguins playing a little better. Honestly, I want this thing to end in 6 because we have a Bluefish game the night of Game 7, and that does not look good for me. I kind of is starting to feel like I'm working during Game 7 here because Nashville has been great. They've been really, really good at home. The Penguins need secondary scoring. They need primary scoring. They need a lot. They had a very, very bad time of it down in Nashville, so we'll see if they can bounce back. A couple more notes on the NBA Finals, and then I'll get out of here. I know the podcast is late, so we'll make it a nice, quick, short and to the point one. The Cavaliers, in the last few minutes of the game, and I touched on this earlier, but I wanted to make a further point about it, was the problem for me, aside from the fact that guys weren't hitting the shots that they should have hit, when you have the best player on planet Earth, he's got to have the ball. And I heard Craig Carton on WFAN this morning on Boomer and Carton talking about LeBron versus MJ and how it is now solidified. He says MJ would have won that game last night. 100% MJ would have won that game. I don't know if I can make that argument because I don't know if Michael Jordan has them in that game based on the absurd passes LeBron was making and just how efficient he was. He was shooting the lights out, and there's no guarantee Michael would have been any better shooting the ball before the last 5 minutes. That said, we don't know if they're in the game with Jordan on the floor, and more to the point, it's an argument that doesn't make sense. You don't know how any of it fits together. None of the pieces work. You can't make that judgment based off one game. But I took something away from that statement, and I took a little bit of truth out of that statement only on a small level, which is the fact that I have a hard time believing that he would not have scored. Talking about Jordan, would not have scored in the last 3 minutes of that game. I have a hard time believing that. LeBron has always unfairly probably received criticism about his want for the ball late in games or his clutch gene, as what got, as the phrase that got Skip Bayless famous, the clutch gene, along with the Tebow love. LeBron's gotten a lot of shit for those things over the years, but most of it hasn't been warranted. Last night, I think it might be. And he might be out of gas. We all saw the stat. He's played in the NBA for 14 years. It's his 12th straight postseason appearance, 7th straight finals. He's never missed a playoff game. I mean, that's crazy. Roxy's here. Everybody say hi to the dog. She's hopping into the room. Hello. What are you doing? You're just chilling. She probably just ate her dinner. Very happy. She's going to go lie down now. So anyway, yeah, LeBron, I love him. He's the best player on the planet. He's a top 5 player of all time. I will have a solidified answer to that question once he retires. Until then, it's fluid, but yeah, you can't make those snap judgment calls based on something like that, but you can find a little truth in it. And that's the calling into question why he didn't score, or why the offense wasn't pushed through him, forced through him, why he's not driving the basket with 6 seconds left in the shot clock, most of the possessions in the fourth quarter, because when you have a lead against Golden State, you have to grind out the shot clock and you have to get to the hole. There's nobody on the planet that's better at getting to the hole than LeBron James. So you got to give him that opportunity. And it felt like they got away from it, and it might be on Ty Lue. He's made some questionable decisions. Darren Williams does not belong on the floor at all. Shumpert doesn't belong on the floor at all. I know you got to get these guys off for a few minutes at a time, but it's really difficult. It's really difficult. That bench is not good. It's not good. Tristan Thompson had 2 moments last night that were good. Obviously, he's a starter. He had 2 good moments. Aside from that, he's been non-existent. It's been the big 3 and pretty much just the big 3, which is disappointing, but it's it's not going to get it done. It really isn't. And we know that, and it feels inevitable now. The sweep feels like it's going to happen because now you're questioning late in the game, Cleveland fighting just to have a chance to go to Golden State for a game 5, and then maybe a 6, and then again back to Golden State for 7. Like, I don't know. Against this team, you heard, LeBron talking last night about it. Most firepower he's ever seen in a lineup. And obviously he's right. Obviously it's the most he's ever seen, but yeah, this is, it's kind of a bummer. It's kind of a bummer. Golden State's going to probably go 16-0, and I don't know who's rooting for him. I get it. I understand why they're doing what they're doing. They want to win, but it's all going to come to a head at some point. The contracts are coming up here, and we'll see who they can re-sign. It'll be interesting for sure. So, all right, we got a couple more things to do. Let's keep going. This is the Calhoun Show.
The Calhoun Show.
All right, guys, it's time to do something that we haven't done on the show in quite a while. I know it is a personal favorite segment of my sister's every time we do this. So it's time we have to do some dramatic New York Giant wide receiver talk. Sound the alarm. Since we sounded the old alarm. Well, for those of you that don't know what the alarm is, the alarm signifies that we're about to talk about Odell Beckham. And the alarm started when he was just making ridiculous plays on the football field, and it somehow, and rightfully so probably. All right, that's enough of the alarm. But anyway, I said everyone about 30 seconds ago. Odell Beckham has a habit of doing things off the field that we wish he wouldn't do. Over the lifetime of this podcast, I've had the pleasure of seeing him in person during the Josh Norman blow-up game. I've been a fan during the kicking net love affair, hate fest, whatever you want to call it. And all the while, in the back of my mind was the realization and knowledge that someday there would be a contract conversation between my New York Giants, the straight-laced, by-the-book, everything in order, all the T's are dotted and the I's crossed, New York football Giants negotiate with Odell Beckham Jr., who is a little crazy, probably just passion, but passion can make someone crazy. He's a little overly crazy. And we are now approaching a year that Odell Beckham has officially put out there that some possibility exists of him sitting out if he's not paid, if his contract isn't ripped up. Excuse me. and extended. Now, that's bold. It was pointed out already by a few people that when you sign a gigantic shoe deal with Nike, you got to play. It's part of the deal. So not a good sign, seeing as you just signed a 5-year, $25 million contract with Nike. He's probably got to be on the field. That said, I can understand where he's coming from. And it's easy to side with the player. And you have to remember that these contracts are not always guaranteed and that they can cut guys whenever they want. We just saw the Jets do it was it David Harris, who has been a Jet for 10 years, and they cut him the day, he practiced that day, and then they cut him. Could have cut him before free agency, according to his people. Like, this business can be ruthless. So when you consider what Odell Beckham does for the New York Giants and what he is to that team and to the NFL, both as a player and as a marketability tool, if that's the proper way to say that word that seemed to be impossible for me, with all of the things, with all of his financial upside to the league is a good way to put it. He is important, and he's probably worth a lot more than whatever the Giants are paying him, which I think is somewhere in the $3.75 million range for the first 4 years of his deal, plus a 5th-year option that the Giants have already picked up. Odell Beckham has reset every record of importance, really, set by Jerry Rice over the first 3 years of a career. He's been insanely good. He had a rough playoff game against the Packers. He's had rough stretches. He's had blow-ups. He's had fines and flags and arguments and tantrums. But he also has something like 35 touchdowns in his first 3 years. I'll take it. And I'll take all the other stuff that comes with it. He's worth the money. He's worth the money for sure. Whatever he wants to get paid as a receiver, the Giants should pay him. Compare it to the Antonio Brown deal, pay him that. That's fine. Whatever Brown got, give it to Beckham. Beckham can't make an argument that he's better than Antonio Brown, but he can certainly make an argument that he should be paid like Antonio Brown. And I would agree with that. So I'd be okay with him getting that kind of money. The argument here is more along the lines of the NFL against the NFL Players Association. Teams don't typically extend off of rookie contracts until the player plays out that deal. If the Giants, again, and that's why I laid it out this way, the New York Giants, the straight-lace, button-up, all that stuff, organization that they are, it's the Maras and it's the Rooneys. Those are the pillars of the NFL. Those are the two names. And we don't stand for anything mentalities in New York and in Pittsburgh, even though you could call into question some of those examples. Are the Giants going to break rank out of the NFL and renegotiate a contract for a star player because he's ready to get paid? And what stops Odell Beckham from 3 years ago or 3 years from now looking at someone else's contract and saying, okay, now this young guy who just hit the end of his rookie deal is getting paid more than me. I'm better than him. I'm Odell Beckham. I have, 3 Super Bowl MVPs in the last 3 years. Crazy how that worked out, huh? It's awesome. I was super excited. Pay me more than him or I'm not going to play. I know you guys did it once for me before. Now I'm going to threaten it again. That's a real issue. And I don't think the Giants are going to move. Most of these stories turn out to be legitimately absolutely nothing. We all know that. Most of these holdouts, or whatever you want to call them, are not holdouts. It might be a few practices. They get fined for a couple weeks. They show up, they play. The occasional guy misses a week or two. Okay? I'm not worried about that as a Giants fan. I would like the Giants to pay him. I would like him to get paid when, I would like him to get paid now if they could do it. Pay him now, make him happy, and keep him on the team forever. But we'll see. They know what they're doing. They're pros. They'll figure it out. We had some UFC stuff happen. We haven't talked UFC here in a little while. I'm going to do this, and then I'm going to get out of here because there was a long gap in the middle of this podcast, by the way. If you know what? We'll play a game. If you guys can figure out where the gap was. There was an edit where I disappeared for quite literally probably 6 or 8 hours. I have no idea when I was doing the podcast earlier, but I got called away to go help pull some wire from my shed to my house. And then I got distracted doing other stuff, and then I ran some errands. And now I'm getting ready to go out and watch the Penguins, who are going to start pretty shortly here. So, yeah, we'll play a trivia game. We'll give you guys a prize if you can figure out where the exact second point is. I'll write it down. I'll go back and find it. If you can write down when it was that I disappeared for 9 hours, I'll give you credit for that. So anyway, a couple of UFC things, and then we are out of here. The big fight over the weekend was obviously Max Holloway and Jose Aldo. Aldo, I thought, was in a bad place coming into this. I know that he had fought and won since the McGregor knockout, but Holloway hasn't lost since he lost to McGregor. Holloway's got a top 5 win streak of all time going for him right now in the UFC. And what happened with Aldo is exactly what we expected. I mentioned all this because I just want to talk about a couple of things UFC related. Number one is that everyone's talking about what Conor does after Mayweather if that happens. Some people are mentioning Holloway, some are mentioning Aldo. Neither of those things are going to happen. I think Aldo should go up to 155, and even still, there's no money in Conor versus Aldo 2. For Conor, there's nothing he can gain. What if he loses? What the hell would he do that for? He's already he knocked him out in 13 seconds. He broke him mentally before they even got in the octagon. Mission accomplished, moving on. Holloway has a slew of guys in that division that are going to be able to challenge him. The Conor stuff, we have to let go. We have to let go of Conor being a 145 guy. We get Frankie Edgar and Holloway. We might get Ricardo Lamas. There's options here. There's options here at the featherweight. At the lightweight side, who knows what's going to happen? We can't seem to get Ferguson and Nurmagomedov into the ring or in the octagon together. Who knows what Dos Anjos is doing here, Barbosa. I'm interested in the UFC moving forward. Some of the names are really becoming popular. People are starting to learn who Cody Garbrandt is. They know who Joanna is. We're going to get Jones Cormier. God willing, we're going to get Jones Cormier here. I think in the next month, we're going to get that fight. There's a lot of exciting things happening UFC related, and I'm going to start getting a little more into that. We're going to start getting a little more into the baseball coming up in the next couple weeks here. Obviously, Red Sox Yankees is going on. Rubber match of the series happening tonight. I think David Price is on the hill for the Red Sox. Checking now, it's 1-0 Yankees. Looks like Gardner drove one in the second. So that's been fun. My Mets are terrible. And yeah, some of it's rough. So hopefully when you guys hear this, the Penguins will have won Game 5. If not, I'll be nervously, possibly sadly watching Game 6 a few nights from now. But yeah, get your stuff in if you have any questions for us at Calhoun Show. Email calhounshow@gmail.com. Thank you as always to everybody for doing all their stuff that helps out with this podcast. And Stephanie, congratulations. She uploaded a picture to Facebook a few minutes ago of her looking out at her new garden in her in what looked like a living room window. So she seems very happy moved into her new home. So hey, congratulations to her, Stephanie. I love you. I'm proud of you. Nice job. And we need one of your celebrity sports analogies where you try to explain something to me in pop culture by using a sports analogy. Remember that segment that we were going to start doing? We're doing that next week. Come up with something. You're on the spot. You got a house. Start thinking every single room of your house until you come up with something good. All right, guys. See you later.
Listening to The Calhoun Show. Join the conversation by following the show on Twitter at Calhoun Show and emailing the show at calhounshow@gmail.com. You can also find us on Facebook, and don't forget to subscribe and download for free on iTunes. Want to hear yourself on the show? Leave us a voicemail by calling 860-740-2119.